لا إله إلا الله 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 لا إله إلا الله.
Join me for a visit to the port city of Makassar in the South Peninsula of Sulawesi Island. We will explore the culture, the history and the interactions between the Macassan people and Australia's Aboriginals. Assalamu alaikum. This will be my last evening in Makassar. I've been here about a week now, and I want to show you some of the highlights that I've experienced. This area has 19 caves that have cave paintings dating back thousands of years. They consist of hand stencils, animals, spears, and other things related to their life back then. It may make you wonder where I am. These paintings are reminiscent of the Aboriginal artwork in Kakadu National Park in Australia's Northern Territory. However, I'm in South Sulawesi, in the region of Maros. To my left is my guide, Jerry. He's being very helpful here, giving us lots of information. Due to its location, the Indonesian archipelago was in contact with many cultures and civilizations over the centuries. By the 1500s, the religion of Islam was becoming very popular among the people of South Sulawesi. By the early 1600s, the Sultan Alauddin announced that Islam was the official religion of his kingdom, the Kingdom of Goa. Later in the week we came across one of, if not the oldest mosque in Sulawesi. It was built in 1603. Moga mengalir keberkatan dalam diriku untuk mengikut jejak.
Ada pengaruh budaya Cina, ya, arsitekturnya dipengaruhi budaya Cina. Bentuk tiangnya ini dipengaruhi oleh budaya Eropa atau Portugis. Bentuk atap dan badan masjid ini berpadu antara budaya Timur Tengah, budaya Jawa dan budaya lokal. Dan dahulu masjid ini selain digunakan sebagai tempat ibadah, juga sebagai tempat perlindungan atau benteng terakhir bagi keluarga kerajaan. Ini huruf Arab tapi bahasa Makassar.
This is written in Arabic script, however it's the Macassan language. The locals are always happy to meet foreigners, as you can see. Hello. Thereafter, the Dutch arrived, and finally the Dutch sought to take control of this region or make rules and regulations that were specific to them. Yet someone who was considered a hero in this region stood up to them. His name was Hassanuddin. In an attempt to monopolize the region, the Dutch put pressure on the Kingdom of Goa to sever trade relations with the Danish, Portuguese and the British. The Sultan Alauddin, who is the grandfather of Hassanuddin, responded, "God has made the earth and sea and has divided the earth among all men and given the sea in common to all men, and that the islands were not reserved for the Dutch sole use." During the reign of Sultan Hassanuddin, the Dutch decided they only wanted an all-out war with the Kingdom of Goa. Hassanuddin, his people, and with the help of their allies from the Waju Bugis tribe, were in conflict with the Dutch for several years. In the end, the Dutch had the upper hand, and Hassanuddin signed a treaty with them. Yet the people of Goa responded to the Dutch by saying, "We are happy with the damage that we have done to your fleets." This enraged the Dutch, because they could not suppress the spirit of the people of Makassar. The Palace of Goa stands as a museum today, and it consists of many artifacts from the old Sultanate. Inside that palace we found, of course, many weapons, many pictures of the royal family, yet we also came across an Aboriginal painting. This painting sums up the annual visits of the Macassans. They would collect tripang, or sea cucumber, in the shallow waters, and they would interact with the Aboriginals. Then they would set sail and return back to Makassar. They would do this every year. Many museums throughout Australia contain artifacts relating to this industry and the contact between the Macassans and the Aboriginals. Each generation would hear the stories from their elders about the annual visitors from Makassar. They also preserved this information on bark paintings, cave paintings, and through song and dance.
Okay, so the native place that you can see also in South Sulawesi provincial area is the Regency of Bulukumba. 45 kilometers from Bulukumba to Bira, you can see nice beaches, white sandy beaches, and where you can see also the boat building called Pinisi. Pinisi is the typical boat building of the Macassaris people. The Macassaris has so much similarity in common between the native Australian, the Aborigine, particularly in languages.
If we were to look, for example, the word for canoe used by the Macassans is lipa lipa. The Aboriginals of Arnhem Land until this day use the word lipa lipa to refer to the dugout canoes. Another word that is commonly used along the northern coastline of Australia today is Bolanda, which refers to white person. The Indonesians use the word Bilanda, which originally refers to a Dutch person.
فضلا وعلا أهدى السبل لدلالته فأقر الرسل فضلا وعلا أهدى السبل لدلالته الصبح بدا من طلعته والليل نجا من وفرته الصبح بدا من طلعته والليل نجا من وفرته الله
Matthew Flinders is the first man to circumnavigate Australia. He also drew this accurate map. He is also responsible for naming this land Australia. Yet in 1803, Matthew Flinders and his crew came across several prowls. Matthew Flinders spent 2 days with these people and he interviewed Pak Basu. He found out that these men leave Makassar in December using the monsoon winds. They would collect tons of sea cucumbers. Then they would return back to Sulawesi Island using the monsoon winds again, and then they would sell this tripang to the Chinese merchants who were docked at Makassar. There were 1,000 Muslim men from Makassar who visited Australia that year. Now, one of the highlights of the trip was to see the macaque monkeys. We came across a local ranger who was able to distinctly call the monkeys. They responded to him. As we walked deeper into the forest, we could see monkeys to our left and to our right, and they followed the ranger with his bag of corn. Now these wild monkeys are known as the Moor macaque, or the scientific name for them is the Macaca mora. Now there are many cases of the Aboriginals returning with the Macassans back to Sulawesi Island. That is why George Chalupka believes that this painting in the Northern Territory depicts monkeys and was painted by an Aboriginal who visited Sulawesi Island.
And so this traveler, lost and weary, wandering far from home, came at last upon your...
An Aboriginal named Jalajari travelled to Makassar in the 1890s. He mentions that he met several of his countrymen living there. He also mentioned that most of the young men who went to Makassar would marry and settle there. Those who had wives in Australia would only visit Makassar with their friends and return with the next season. Jalajari also mentioned that he saw Chinese people in Makassar as well as the Dutch with their funny clothes. A common feature of the Northern Territory coastline is the tamarind tree. The tamarind tree was introduced to Australia by the Macassans. Many of these tamarind trees grow at the sites where the Macassans used to camp. Earlier in the week, I came across Pak Ali. His forefathers used to travel to Australia to collect tripang, or sea cucumbers. Pak Ali also participated in sailing upon the Hati Marigi and delivering it to the Darwin Museum. The historian Peter Spillett received funding in the 1980s to make the Hati Marigi according to the traditional methods. The Bugis Makassar crew then sailed the Hati Marigi to Australia in the year 1988. Say hello to Australia.
Hello, Australia. Hello, Australia. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yep.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so that's it from me for now. I hope you learned something new about the culture in Makassar, Sulawesi, and a little bit more about the history and the connection between Australia and Sulawesi Island. And until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
tak pernah ku tatap wajahmu. Ya Rasulullah, ya Habiballah, kami rindu padamu. Ku tahu cintamu kepada umat, ummati. Ku tahu bimbangnya kau tentang kami, syafaatkan kami. Alangkah indahnya hidup ini, andai dapat ku tatap wajahmu, kan pasti mengalir air